You are
Let's
right.
say, you're a lib housewife somewhere. Like, what are you excited about? Saving the whales. People don't talk about that anymore. By the way, it was the Soviet Union that was killing all the whales. They discovered that only recently. Saving the whales, to meet quotas, and then the whale meat was thrown away. It's an incredible story. And basically, like, libs, of course, were covering this up the whole fucking time.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Go research it. It's fascinating.
Wow.
But they don't care about the environment either, but
No.
any more than they care about keeping South Africa white. And, but they'll use it as an excuse, absolutely. And so you have all these things, and they're kind of bogus, and they're kind of divorced from everyday experience, right? And then this housewife, and she's. Is her marriage whose marriage is perfect, right? Like, she's getting through her day, maybe she's on antidepressants, right? And then, this storm comes out of nowhere. This figure from the past, this demon emerges
from the 1950s
that we thought we'd quelled forever.
Right.
And then suddenly, like, basically, instead of, like, worrying about climate change, you're worrying about Holocaust 2.0.
Yeah.
And then, literally,
yeah.
Well, figuratively, but also literally. Holocaust 2.0. Holocaust 2.0. And then literally, you, the housewife, have a chance to be in the resistance.
Yeah.
Never thought you could be in a resistance.
So fun.
The French resistance. You're Luke Skywalker. You're in the Maquis. You're fighting back. You're the hinge of fate. You're the hinge of destiny.
Yes.
Right? This stuff is running through your veins. And the thing is, if you were into politics or causes or making a difference or having an impact before, was it part of your life that you valued? Yeah, it was like drinking beer. Like, like you're like, yeah, I'm someone who I like an IPA, very hoppy, not too hoppy. Yeah, does it make me feel a little tipsy? Does it make me talk? Sure, it does. But I'm in it for the taste mainly, right? And then suddenly, these people's brewery, like, the bartender comes around and she's like, would you like to try our new crack ale? And you're like, what is the crack? It's just like, it has crack in it. We put crack in your beer. Come on, you got to try it just once, right? And you take this beer and you drink this beer, and then suddenly you're like,
wow.
It's just, wow, right? There's this famous Reddit post. If I can digress a little bit into Reddit, there's this famous Reddit post that I saw recently. It's like, I'm not a Redditor, but this is like, so amazing that it was brought to my attention. It's by a user named Spontaneous H. And Spontaneous H, you can guess what's coming next. He like posts this post on Reddit in some like random group. He's like, yeah, I was really bored today, and I was like, man, my life's just not very interesting. So I was like, I'm going to go just like down to the corner and buy some weed. And then he was like, I went down to the corner and I like found this guy, and he's like obviously a dealer. And he's like, do you have any weed? And he's like, no, but I have heroin. And so this guy's like, what the hell? So, I was like, well, whatever. That's exciting too. So I bought some heroin, and I'm going to snort some and see what happens. And he ends his post there. And then the next day he's like, man, I snorted that shit. I'm never going to do it again. It was incredible. It felt like a 10-hour-long orgasm. Wow, that was amazing. I can see how people would really get into this. And then like 3 months later, he's like, yeah, I was shooting up all day. I'm completely hooked. And like the end of the saga is like years later. He's like, yeah, just to follow up on all of that. Yeah, I've been clean for a couple of years. It's really good. Don't do heroin, kids. Right. And so, here's this poor housewife, right? She's like this, housewives in like 1906 that get cooked on, morphine that's not called morphine, right? And she's taking this crack beer, and this stuff is amazing. Tastes a little funny, but like it makes her feel like she's never felt before. She's part of the French resistance. And like, wow, this is amazing, right? And so,
she's historic now.
She's historic. She's part of her time. She lives more intensely. And she lives at her most intense when she's reading the New York Times or maybe Mother Jones, right? And so she's basically, or Jacobin even, she's getting into the harder and harder stuff. And, there are these groups, there's direct action, they're on the streets, like this is becoming her life. It's becoming who she is, right? But, 2020 rolls around, and this is like the Ragnarok, the Götterdämmerung, the fight. This is the time when we're going to defeat Cheeto Hitler, right? And we're going to beat this guy and everything he stands for. And you stand out and you fight. And it's like this amazing dramatic ending till the end. Like, is there going to be a military coup?
Yeah.
Is there going to be martial law? Are Proud Boys going to be raping and killing in the streets?
Yeah.
Persons of color? You know, like
Yeah.
all of this could happen, right? And it could still happen. It's still a visible, like they still fear it. And, you know, arguably, probably not as in their fantasies, arguably it probably should happen, but it's not going to. And the it's certainly I won't say that Proud Boys should be raping and killing in the street, you know, but basically history will look back at the fading days of the Trump administration, and it's quite likely to say, you could have done anything, why didn't you do something? And be that as it may, you couldn't actually do anything. The historians there will be wrong. It's totally impossible. You know, the instrument is too weak. You're not ready to do anything, so you can't just, you know, via victus, you know, woe to the defeated, you know, accept your fate. And but on January 20th, when Joseph Robinette China Joe Biden is inaugurated, you know, all of that will be over. And like, you know, will you be able to take the like the Luciferian character of Orange Man still lurking out there? He could run in 2024. Will you be able to take him seriously? Well, you know, especially if he gets banned from Twitter and indicted, you know, it fades. And then why do you even read the newspaper?
What's your
why
point?
do you even exist?
Why do you live? Yeah.
Why do you live? What's the point of waking up in the morning?
What's the point?
And so basically you get this, you know, here you have, you know, this junkie, this like normal suburban housewife who's been turned, I mean, marriage has been ended over this. Like, you know, it's like, I mean, you know, okay, there is the thing of the right-wing QAnon person who goes down that rabbit hole and destroys his life, right? That's a thing, but there's also the other thing. You know, this is something that has become part of people's lives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then they have to go back and start caring about, like, you know, some tax bill, or like healthcare or something, you know, climate change,
So
the Great Reset, build back better, you know, and the thing is, okay, it's a great slogan, build back better with Biden. That's 4 B's. That's great alliteration, right? You know, it's a great reset of Klaus Schwab. You know, have you seen Klaus Schwab? He has this uniform, the Davos man, the World Economic Forum guy. He actually has this like Battlestar Galactica, you know, outfit that he's crafted for himself. Wow. And he talks like Werner Herzog, you know, but like, you know, this whole show put together doesn't have 100 of the star power of the Trump show. And so this crackhead housewife has to go back on beer. And that's going to be a very, very painful, disruptive thing. Not only that, this bar that introduced the crack ale is doing amazing business, right? I mean, like all the housewives from all around are coming. They have the outdoor tables. You know, the thing is hopping, no pun intended. And then, you know, in January, you come back and it's just beer. And you see all these people sitting around with these glowing. They used to be able to get drunk on beer. So they got like really tipsy and really excited, and now that's just dead. Furthermore, when you and so the bar starts laying off people, right? Because the bar has done this classic kind of business thing where you expand into a market that you think is like a growth market, but actually turns out to be a fad. So it's basically like you started this like massive conglomerate to sell hula hoops in 1982. And then 1983 comes along and like the hula hoop is dated as hell and none of the girls want one. And you have this massive factory, right? You know, what do you do with your hula hoop factory? Wow. And, you know, so you basically, you're turning the New York Times into the world's biggest hula hoop factory. And it doesn't, it's a, you know, it's part of the government in one way, but it's also a business. It doesn't like to lose money. Nobody likes to lose money. Nobody likes to lose clicks. Nobody likes to see those charts going like that. Like, that's just an ugly, depressing, horrifying feeling.